Hello everybody, Corey here. I just wanted to do a quick video to go over the trades from last week for any of you that want to watch this. So if you don't care to see what trades happened last week or whatever, just stop watching this right now. But I just wanted to do this. I know I did a video before the week started, and I didn't think I'd get any more videos done last week with the fiscal year, ending and opening up for my job and all the extra hours I had to work. So I didn't get any of this out. But before today's holdings and stuff came out, I wanted to go ahead and get these out separately in case anybody wanted to watch them, and it'll make tonight's video, assuming that it happens. The holdings won't be out for a few hours still, but just wanted to go ahead and get this out. So these will be from September 30th to October 4th, but the 30th are probably going to be on the bottom because I did not sort it in a special way when I did this. In fact, for some reason I thought I'd done September 30th video, I guess because I had the data already done and set up, and then I realized that there's no way I could have done that because that was the last day of the month. I don't really want to go into too much detail into this. Most of you, if you watch the videos already, should have an idea. You can, I don't know. We can just, I don't know, maybe briefly go through this. I really don't know how many lines are here. Hold on. There's almost 300 lines here for all of these. So we'll just start up here, ABNY here, ABNY, which is the Airbnb ticker or ETF. You can see the first three lines here is just where they open 20 contracts for people buying in. Same thing for the next three lines. You can see buying in for 35 contracts for the synthetic and short call. And then the last four there is just where they closed out the contracts that expired last week and then opening up contracts for this week. But overall here you can see that they brought in $132,000 for those trades. Let's put us freeze. And then if we look at AIYY, the first four lines are, the first four where they closed out the calls that were going to expire last Friday, and then opening up the same number of contracts for this week that will expire this week. And then the next four lines is where people have bought into this fund. So they did another 380 contracts for the synthetic and the short and bulk calls there. Overall, they brought in $456,000. AMDY, you can see the first four lines are contracts that expired last Friday, and the next four lines are just where they put on the contracts for this week. Overall, they brought in $915,000. AMZ, this is broke up into two separate ones here. It looks like they're all done on the same day though, but they ended up closing out of the contracts that expired last week and then pushed all of those out to this week. Overall, they brought in $723,000. Appley, the first four is a set, and then the next three is a set. And basically, they closed out the contracts that expired last Friday, that were going to expire on Friday, and they pushed them out to this Friday, the 11th. The exception here is the 105 contracts that they closed out. When they pushed it to this week, they also did bulk calls for those, and I guess they didn't have bulk calls before, just based on looking at these trades. And then the next or last three lines is where people bought in. So they put on 50 contracts for the synthetic and the short call. Overall, they brought in $386,000. Babu, let's see. So if we looked at the bottom four, because those were the first ones done last Monday, you can see that they had closed out the short calls that were going to expire on Friday. They had 100 and 102, and then they pushed them, pushed that strike price to 117, but with the same expiration date. And then the four above that is where they ended up having to close out of the synthetic and push that up to a 110 strike price in order to pay to close out the short calls that they closed, because they were way over the strike prices. And then the first two lines is from Friday, where they closed out that 117 strike price and then pushed it to this week at 123. Overall, they brought in almost $1.28 million. Coney, there were so many trades here, you can't even get it on one page. In fact, I guess I missed taking out a line there. I did them, and then I had to go back and add the 30th, so then I had to redo my lines. Which then means also this is incorrect. So let me fix to 56. Let me double check. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, just look. I won't leave it like this, but I'd have to zoom way. Oh my goodness. You see how far I had to zoom out just to get all of Coney trades on one screen. So that's a lot. So we're going to zoom back in. We'll have to do a little bit at a time here. It doesn't look like there were any from the 30th. So we'll start at the top. Okay, so the first four lines is where people bought in. So they bought in, or they did 1,000 contracts for the synthetic short call and bulk call. And then the next four is where they closed out the contracts that were going to expire on Friday and pushed them out to the next week, the 11th. And then the next three lines, they closed out a short call, pushed it out to the 11th, and then also ended up doing a bulk call with that one. And then they closed a bought and short call here and pushed it out to the 11th. Whew, all of those were just the first from October 1st. All right, so now to October 2nd. The first four lines is where they close out of the synthetic expiring October 18th. Pushed that out to December and went from a 195 to a 165 strike price. And then the next four is where they closed out the bulk call and short call expiring last Friday and pushed them out to this Friday. So those were all the trades from the 2nd. So then we go to the 3rd here. Those first three lines, you can see where people have bought in. So they added 825 contracts. And then the next four lines is where they closed out of a synthetic expiring in November, pushed it to December, going from a 185 to a 165 strike price. Same thing for the next four. They just broke them up. Same strike prices, same expirations. And then we're still on the 3rd, but I'm going to go ahead and move it because it's going to be harder to tell here. But then the next three here from the 3rd, they closed out a short call and bought call that was expiring on Friday and pushed it out. Well, pushed the short call out to this Friday, but they did not do another bought call with that. And then on Friday, they closed out the short call and bought call that was going to expire that expired last Friday, and then they pushed it out to the short call to this Friday, the 11th, without the bought call. Overall, they paid $85 million, about almost $85.55 million for all of those trades. So we're a third of the way through, and I don't even know, but Coney looks like it was the majority. But 40 lines. It's crazy. I bet Rod's glad he didn't have to do all of those. Oh my goodness. Okay. So then we have crash here. So these are in alphabetical order. I didn't separate these by long or short, by the way. So here you can see the first 4 lines are where people bought in. So they bought 190 contracts so then they put on 190 contracts for the synthetic, long call, and short put. And here you can see that they closed out of 55 contracts. And then here you can see where they closed out of the short put and bought put that was going to expire on Friday and pushed those out to this week. And then these last 5 lines, which are actually from the 30th, but basically people bought in and they just did 50 contracts of each that they had out there. The synthetic, short put, bought put, long call. So anyway, they brought in almost $1.2 million here for crash. Then we have dips here. So the bottom 4 is where they people bought in. So they put on 80 contracts of each, the synthetic, short put, and long call. And then all the top ones, you can see these all say close. So the first 3 are closing out of 40. So I guess some people sold. And then, okay, then they had the 2 short puts that expired on Friday. I don't know why that says a bought put on that day. Oh, well, never mind. I guess that makes sense. So let me move this up. So the first 3 here are where they closed out of 40 of all of those. And then 40 of this one down here. So this appears to go with those 4. And then this and this together equals the 745 here. So closing out of the short put 745 and closing out of the bought put at 745. But that doesn't make sense. It appears that it should be a short put for this week. Maybe it's just because of the whole thing with, maybe I didn't, I rebuilt some codes the other week because of the bought calls in the, let's see, that was from the 4th, in the shorts. So, okay, so I fixed it. I don't know what I did over there. Maybe it was before I changed the formulas. Only reason I say that is because it was orange. But anyway, I apologize. So fix that. These two are closing out those expiring on the 4th, and then this one is the one replacing those for this week. And we already talked about those and the fact that these went up here with these. They're just out of order for some reason. Oh, did I do the wrong one? Of course I did. And now I know why. Sorry, now I know why this one here is because it said, because of this right here, the way this coded over. All right, I figured out what was wrong. It's this code here. It's because this is coded as an S, which makes it look like it was closed, and it should have been coded as an SS instead. So that's what happened there. So what I'll do, just for the purpose of this, I will copy this over. I don't know what I just copied. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so that was coded incorrectly because the way this reads, that had to have been them opening up for this week, closing these two out. So this should have been an SS, and instead they coded it as an S. All right, at least we were able to figure that out. Okay. Sorry, it took me a second to figure out the issue there. Okay, so anyway, I didn't say up here, but for dips, they brought in $135,000. If we move on to Dizzo here, you can see the first three lines. So these were all on the 3rd, but the first three lines is showing where they brought in people bought into the fund, so they opened up 90 contracts here. The next two lines, what did they do? All right, so they did have two short calls. They had one with 1,000 and one with 1,090. So what's missing here is the closing line for this. So we don't have all the trades here. I know I'm highlighting that, but it's just because the line, there should have been another line here for October 4th expiration. Let's see, with a $95 strike price that was closed out, because then that would have pushed, and then this one with the $97 strike price would have been in place of that one. So we're just missing the closing trade for that. But anyway, so for Disney here, they brought in, at least, you know, based on what was out there for us to see, 62,000. They paid a cent a piece to close out the $96 one. So the $95 one was probably somewhere around the same, if not exactly the same, which means they brought in just a tiny bit less. All right, so let's move on to Phoebe here. The first three lines, people buying in, 25 new contracts. The next four lines, closing out of the contracts expiring last Friday and pushing them to this Friday. Overall, this costs $944,000 for Phoebe. Then we have Fiat. The first four lines are people buying in, so 180 contracts. The next two lines is them closing some contracts expiring on Friday, and then having new contracts for this week that will expire this week, and then the next 4 lines are again 2 lines closing out contracts expiring on the 4th, and then new contracts expiring on the 11th. And then the bottom 4 lines right there, the 230 contracts, is people buying in, and them opening up 230 contracts there. Overall for fiat, $1.35 million brought in. GDXY, just 2 trades here, closing out of these short calls expiring on Friday with a $42 strike price and pushing out to this week with a $41 strike price. Overall, bringing in $226,000. GUI. The first 3 lines are people buying in to GUI. So they have 125 new contracts. Then the next 2 lines is them closing the 125 contracts that expired on Friday and pushing them to October 11th. And then the next 4 lines is closing out the rest of their contracts expiring on the 4th and pushing them to the 11th. Overall, they paid out $377,000 for GUI trades. JPMO, first 3 lines, 30 new contracts for the synthetics and short calls with people buying in, and then closing out the short call expiring on the 4th and pushing it out to the 11th. Overall, bringing in $192,000 for JPMO. Murney, we have lots of trades here. So the first 3 lines are people buying in, 100 new contracts, synthetic and short call. Then the next 4 lines, same thing, people buying in, 70 contracts for the synthetic and short call. And then the rest of those lines are them closing out, and there's 8 here, closing out all the contracts expiring on the 4th and pushing them out or putting on new contracts for the 11th. Overall, they brought in $576,000 for Murney. MSFO, we have 3 trades here. They closed out of the short call expiring on the 4th. We have a new short call for this week, and then they also did a bought call. Overall, they brought in $336,000 for MSFO. Then we have 3 trades for Misty. They closed out, my goodness. This was Friday. They closed out of the short call and the bought call that expired on Friday. And then put on a short call for this week at a 182.50. Overall, they brought in $11.7 million. But of course, if anybody was watching today, y'all know that MicroStrategy was actually up in the 190s today. I don't know where they're going to close at. It's still 7 o'clock and after hours, but yeah, they were in the 190s. Anyway, moving on to Nephilim here. So the bottom 4 lines happened first. They closed the contracts expiring on the 4th with a $745 and $750 strike price, and then they moved them to a $727.50 strike price. And then the top 2 is them closing out that $727.50 strike price and expiring the 4th and pushing them out to the 11th with the same strike price. Overall, they brought in $394,000 for Nephilim. NVIDIA, we have a whole sheet of trades here. Still not as bad as Coney. All right, so the first 3 lines. We have closing out the short call that expired on the 4th, pushing those out to this week on the 11th, and then also adding a bought call with those. The next 3 lines with the 1,600 contracts, those are where people bought into the fund. So we have 1,600 new contracts. And then I'm going to move this up so you can see it a little better here. And then those next 4 lines, that's them closing out the short call and bought calls, 120 and 124, expiring this coming Friday. And then opening new calls, expiring still this Friday, but different strike prices. So the short call went from a 120 to a 127. And the bought call went from a 124 to a 131. Then the next 4 lines is where they closed out the contracts or closed out some contracts expiring on the 4th and moved them to this week expiring on the 11th. And then the next 4 lines is where people are buying into the fund, so they have 1,400 new contracts. So overall, they ended up paying out $2.9 million for NVIDIA. OARC, just 2 trades, closing out the contracts expiring on the 4th, and then the new contracts expiring on the 11th. They brought in $632,000. PayPay. All right, so the first 4 lines here are new buyers, 310 contracts, and then the next 3 lines is where they closed out contracts expiring on the 4th, and the new short call for this coming Friday, the 11th, and they did not do a bought call for that one. And then the next 3 lines is an additional new 195 contracts. Overall, they brought in $107,000 for PayPay. SMCY. Man, who had that one today? So I don't have that one because SMCI is bad in itself. So I have that one. But I gotta look this one up because I know I saw today this one jump. I didn't even know it could jump that much. SMCY jumped 13%, well, 12.5% today to $55.44. It jumped $6 plus. So it's a good thing there's a bought call there because that was just strike price just obliviated. Let's see. I'm just gonna look. Yeah, I wish I had that one, but at the same time, that's that one, it scares me. Which I know I say that, but it's just that violent moves one way or the other. I guess it's just a good thing that they had bought calls on this one. And then we'll see what the holdings are later tonight when those are posted to see where we actually stand on these. But anyway, 3 trades there again. Overall, though, they only brought in $7,000 for those trades on Friday. Yeah, they didn't even have a bought call, so it's a good thing they put one on. All right. Anyway, moving on to Snowy here. They closed out the short call and bought call that expired on Friday, and now they just have the short call that will expire this week, overall bringing in $170,000 for Snowy. Then we have Squee here. The first 4 lines, them closing out the contracts expiring on the 4th, and then the new contracts expiring on the 11th. Then the next 3 lines is a new 145 contracts for people buying in, bringing in $283,000 for Squee. Then Tesla, we have 4 trades. They closed out the short calls expiring on the 4th, and we have new short calls expiring on the 11th, bringing in $14.1 million. TSMY. Lots of trades here. The first 3 lines people buying in, so we have 30 new contracts. And then, so let's move this here, otherwise it doesn't make sense. All right, so then they had the short calls, and well, actually it's only one. It's just split up into two different ones. But the short call there and the bulk call expiring on Friday, and then the new short call and bulk call for the 11th. Yep. All right, so that was the next 5 lines. So then the next 4 lines there you see with the 46 contracts, these are actually from the 30th now. This is where the 46 there is where we have new people buying in. And then the next 4 was where they had 235 contracts they closed out that expired on the 4th. And had moved those strike prices down on the 4th. That showed above as being closed out. Sorry, didn't have those in order by date. But overall, they brought in $93,000 for TSMY. And then we have Zomo here. They only had trades on the 1st. They closed out all the contracts expiring on the 4th and moved them to the 11th, paying out $279,000. Then they have YBit here. The first 4 lines are people, but actually the first 8 lines are people buying in. So you have new 1,750 contracts, then another new set of contracts, 2,380. Then the next 3 lines is them closing out of the short call expiring on October 4th and pushing that out to the 11th, but then also doing a bulk call for those. And then the last 4 is another 500 new contracts with people buying in. So overall for YBit, they brought in almost $4.7 million. And then we have YQQQ, the first 4 lines here, 20 new contracts with people buying in. The last 3 lines, closing out the contracts expiring on the 4th, and then the new short put that will expire on the 11th, bringing in $86,000. Ooh, that's more than I'd planned to do. But, oh well. Hopefully, if, there was any of you out there that actually wanted to see all these trades and everything they did, here is everything. Yep, hope you got something out of it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.